Are you gonna have to shovel your driveway every day in Colorado Springs winter? Are you gonna suffer from altitude sickness? And find out what poem and song were inspired by its beauty. All that and more up next. Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today is an exciting day because we're going to be going over Colorado Springs and why I absolutely love this place and help you decide if it's the right place for you. Without further ado, let's jump into this. So I looked it up. The past year we had 65 snow days all last winter, which isn't that much considering that it only snows between October and May. Usually there have been historic times where as late as July. There's a famous picture in one of our hotels that has a picture of July 4th where there's snow on the ground, but that's very rare. Now, of those 65 days, there was about 9 of them that we call wintry conditions. It might have been a little bit of sleet, it probably didn't stick, and even less of that actually stuck and lasted. But our latest snowstorm was probably our biggest this year, and that was in late May, around the 20th through the 22nd. I got a foot of snow at my house. I'll show you a picture right here. That's crazy. That's late May, which doesn't usually happen to get that much snow that late in the year. Now, generally we get 300 plus days of sun every year in Colorado. It's a very, very sunny, wonderful place. Even when it's cold out, you get lots of sun. I mean, that's more than Florida. So to the question of shoveling, do you gonna have to shovel it? Are you gonna have to shovel it every day? I think I shoveled my driveway 2 times this year. It might have been 3, but I know it was 2, and I can't believe it was over 4. So there will be days you have to shovel, but it's really not that bad. A lot of times it either doesn't stick or it just doesn't stay more than a day. Another great thing about having snow here in Colorado is we have wonderful ski resorts. We have at least 29. Monarch Mountain is the closest to Colorado Springs. That's about a 2.5-hour drive. And I'll flash up, the most popular ones up here on the screen, but it's a wonderful time of year. You just take advantage of it. We love downhill skiing. There's cross-country skiing, there's sledding, there's tubing, snowshoeing. It's just a fun time if you take good advantage. Let's jump into spring and summer. I like to say it's kind of like the 3 Bears, right? Where it's not too hot, it's not too cold, it's just right. It's a really fabulous place to live. You're pretty temperate in the 70s and 80s most of the year round. We do get some thunderstorms once in a while, and you'll get some hail. We've had some pretty bad hailstorms, so it's something to consider. But it's very rare to happen in one place. It's usually, it happened down south or it happened up north. It doesn't happen very often in the same place. Another thing is it's very, very dry for people that are not, if you're from back east or down south, it's very, very dry here. And a common thing we get, especially when you first move here, is people, just because it's so dry, you get a lot of nosebleeds. I know it's a little bit weird, but it does happen. So let's move on to fall. Fall is a fabulous time here in the Springs. You've just got over hot summer. Now it starts to change, get a little bit cooler out. And boy, oh boy, is it beautiful. Just beautiful. When the leaves change here, heading up the mountains, watching the aspens and the yellows, you get lots of reds and oranges. It is just a gorgeous, gorgeous time of year. Matter of fact, my family and I, we always take at least a day or half a day or something. We'll drive up the canyon and just look at the beautiful, beautiful scenery out there. It's just a fabulous, fabulous time. So one thing you need to know if you move to Colorado Springs specifically, is how to dress, okay? We always say, have a coat on you. If you're not wearing it, have it in your car or a jacket or something like that, depending on the time of year, but dress in layers, right? It can be super freaking warm out, 80 degrees, and then in the afternoon, you can be kind of chilly and cold because now it's raining. So you want to have that on you, keep that in your car, keep something with you. There's an old saying here in Colorado Springs that if you don't like the weather, just wait 15 minutes. So it changes pretty regular and pretty rapid. So you always want to be prepared for whatever whatever Colorado is going to throw at you. Altitude sickness. Let's talk about that for a minute. Now, in my experience, most people, they don't really get altitude sickness. We're about 6,000 feet above sea level here, but if you're coming straight from sea level, sometimes you'll feel it, but most folks, they don't feel it until they're getting up above 8,000 feet, okay? And we're at 67, 6,500, depending on where you are in town, so it's really not that big a deal. But here's a couple things you can do to kind of help mitigate that if you are feeling that little bit of dizziness or lightheadedness. First things first, if you're doing activity like hiking or biking or whatever you're doing, go ahead and just stop, take a break, take a rest, and that will help just kind of let you get some air back in your lungs, get some air back in your system, and kind of chill out. If you have a headache, you can take some ibuprofen. Now, I'm not a medical professional, so this is not medical advice. Consult your doctor before doing anything like that. Make sure you're staying hydrated. Like I said, drinking water is probably the #1 thing you can do to just help, acclimate and help get yourself feeling a little bit better. They recommend that you don't smoke, don't drink, and not doing heavy exercise. All right, now we're getting into some really good stuff. I absolutely love Colorado Springs, and the main reason is the mountains. I am a mountain boy. I love the mountains. I love the outdoors, and I love our wildlife. I mean, heck, my last house, we had deer just come across our front yard all the time. All through the year, just deer in the front yard. Love this place. Colorado Springs is so outdoorsy, and there are so many trails here. There are 160 miles of parks and trails here. There's 105 miles of urban trails, and we're at like 6,000 feet. That's why the Olympic Training Center is here. I'll get more about that a little bit later. There's 9,000 acres of parkland. I can't get an exact number. It depends on where I go, the city side, a different side. I've seen anywhere from 231 trails up to 284 trails right here locally in this small little town. Okay, it's a fabulous place. Probably the most famous little hiking trail and area that we have is Garden of the Gods, which if you have not seen it in person, man, put it on your bucket list, whether you move here or not. It is just gorgeous. I actually went out there the other day. I'll show you some footage right now. It is such a gorgeous park. There's these wonderful, towers and spires of red rock that have just been lifted up, and they're up on edge. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous place. So really, if you haven't been there, I recommend that one. It's probably our most famous. You have the Kissing Camels as well. It's just a wonderful, wonderful park. And the great thing is, it's free. You can see the little plaque here that I took a shot of. It is donated in order to keep it free for all Colorado Springs. They have a visitor center that you can go to and check that out, and there are some gift shop things, but it's just a wonderful, wonderful place to visit. There's some other ones like, these that I put up on the screen here. These are some of my favorite that I've put up here. The Bar Trail, that's probably next to Garden of the Gods. That's probably the next most famous one. It's a 13-mile trail from Manitou Springs all the way up to the top of Pikes Peak, which is a 14,000-foot mountain. It's called, we call it America's Mountain. It's actually 14,115 feet tall. It's gorgeous. Another thing that people don't realize a lot of times is that Colorado is home to 58 mountain peaks above 14,000 feet. We just call them 14ers. Another super famous trail, and you've got to be a beast to hit this one, is the Manitou Incline. I'll talk a little bit about the Cog Railway as well, and they're kind of tied together. But the Manitou Incline is 2,768 steps. It's like the Stairmaster from hell. Okay, it's a mile long, and you gain 2,000 feet of elevation right away. About 180,000 people a year hit that trail, and it's sort of a rite of passage if you're a local. If you haven't been up the Manitou Incline, you've got to do it just to say that you have. You can go down the backside on the Bar Trail, or you can come back straight down. But it is a beast, and it is awesome. It's got a great view, and you really feel like you accomplished something every time you go up there and do that. So let's talk a little bit about the Cog Railway. It's a tour that takes about just under 3 hours. So you get on the train. It takes about 45 minutes to go up, and it'll climb 6,288 feet. So it really just goes up there. I can't stress enough, drink water, drink water. Now, You probably want to drink it the day before, because every time I drink it the day of or right before I get on, then I have to go to the bathroom. There is no bathroom on the train. So make sure you hydrate the day before, because you will, at 14,000 feet, you will definitely feel the altitude. Usually I get up there, I'm just a little bit dizzy. And you got to try it when you're up there. They have a donut recipe that only works above 10,000 feet. You can't make these donuts below 10,000 feet. So they're great little donuts. Check them out. It's wonderful. So Colorado Springs is not really that big. We have just under 500,000 people according to the last census, versus if you're up in Denver, they're like 3 million Muldoons up there. We don't have traffic here, okay? We have traffic for about an hour every day, and it'll take your drive from 30 minutes to about 45 minutes. So you got an extra 15 minutes. It's not a big deal. I love this town because it's small enough to, I always like to say, hey, everything in town is 30 minutes away, 45 if you have any kind of traffic. I came here in the military, and I knew it was my first duty station. I knew without a doubt I was going to retire here because I just fell in love with it instantly, and I think you will too. Colorado Springs is extremely nature friendly. We have people that maintain trails. As a matter of fact, my daughter actually did some volunteer work for the trails and some paid work, but she actually helped go and maintain the trails here in Colorado Springs. The outdoors, the fishing, the camping, we are geared for outdoors here in Colorado Springs. It's a wonderful, wonderful place. I could go on and on and on, pretty much indefinitely, talking about the outdoors and the mountains. I absolutely love the Springs. If you love outdoors and nature and the mountains, Colorado Springs is definitely a place that you're going to want to come live. It's also a very, very, very veteran-friendly town. If you're a disabled veteran above, like, I think it's 60%, then you can get your free fishing license and hunting license combo, which is fabulous. If you get your disabled veteran place, you get free access to like the state parks, like Cheyenne Mountain State Park. If you have DV plates, go in there for free. It'll come as no surprise, being such a vet-friendly town that is also a very heavy military town. We have 5 military installations here in Colorado Springs. Fort Carson's probably the biggest. Then we have the Air Force Academy, Peterson Air Force Base, Schriever Air Force Base, and NORAD. Of course, there's also, it's not really its own installation, but we just got the Space Force, and that command is located here in Colorado Springs, and we're ecstatic to have them. We love our military, we love our veterans. I was stationed here at Fort Carson. That was my first duty station. I knew immediately this is where I was going to settle down and retire, because I fell in love with this place instantly. But wait, there's more. I know it's hard to believe. It's hard to cram everything about Colorado Springs in this short little video, but I'm going to try to do my best. We're also home of the USA Olympic and Paralympic Training Center since 1978. Some other must-see local attractions are Cave of the Winds and our local cliff dwellings. We have a minor league baseball team, the Sky Sox, and one of my absolute favorites, it's technically in Manitou Springs, which is just a stone's throw away, is the Emma Crawford Coffin Races. I will do a whole other video on this. It is my favorite event for the year. I absolutely love it. It is a blast. I'll get more into that later on the other video, but it is a fantastic thing. You get 10 or 12,000 people crammed into little Manitou Ave. They have a little coffin parade. It's just a fun, it is a family-friendly thing. There's plenty of beer flowing. It is a great, wonderful, wonderful time. Speaking of beer, Colorado Springs is known for having a ton of microbreweries. I'll flash some up here on the screen again. I'll do a screenshot of just in town if you just Google local microbreweries, but there are so many here in town. I guarantee you these aren't all of them. This is just a list of them, or several. I think there's what, 15 or 16 here on the screen. We're just known for local beer. We just have that great, fresh, cold mountain water. It's a wonderful place to have and brew beer and to drink beer. So come on out and try some of our local brews. A little bit of history for you now. In 1893, author and poet Catherine Lee Bates was a guest lecturer here at Colorado College, and at the end of her stay, she decided to take a wagon trip up to the top of famous Pikes Peak. As she stood in awe and scenic grandeur with the view from the summit, it inspired her to write America the Beautiful. which was eventually turned into the song. If you're considering moving to Colorado Springs, go ahead and check out my website. I'll leave a link in the description below. You can check out homes for sale there and just kind of see what it's all about. I'll also include my free downloadable relocation guide. Have a great day.